Hi everybody, this is Hero from the Birds, back with another Shadowlands video. And in this video I'd like to show you a heroic Zy'mox kill using the Maraud's Light of the Martyr Holy Paladin build. Now Light of the Martyr has a number of detractions or things that would make us not want to use it except in exceptional circumstances. That of course is the fact that in part it does damage to you, it doesn't heal our beacons, it doesn't have the crit modifier that something like Holy Shock does. And in general, it's a skill that doesn't have a lot of synergy outside of the new stuff in Shadowlands. So we have usually preferred to use it only when we're moving and can't cast anything else and someone's about to die. The addition of Maraud's Legendary and the Untempered Dedication Conduit has offered us a couple of interesting pieces to work with. So this makes Light of the Martyr significantly better. Martyr has a 210% spell power coefficient, which is even higher than Holy Shock, and these two pieces offer you an entire gameplay style. Now, what is the style? Essentially, it allows you to be a premier spot healer. So for those of you who are running in a healing comp and you have a lot of throughput healers, you need somebody who at any moment can convert their next GCD into a life-saving moment, instant cast. This is the build for you, because let me tell you guys, Light of the Martyr hits like a bus. It was pushing somewhere up between 18 and 20k single heals on somebody who's about to die when you do it correctly. And thankfully, because of the way Maraud's works and how Untempered Dedication boosts Light of the Martyr's healing, it really pulls away from being a rotational kind of build. What do I mean by that? Well, in both your Glimmer build and in your Holy Light casting build, you have a lot of rotational pressure. You want to be casting Crusader Strike to reduce the CD on Holy Shock if you're doing Glimmer. You want to be casting 2 Holy Lights within an infusion window in order to maximize the uptime of Holy Light. So you feel very bound to these abilities, especially on the Glimmer side, ones that aren't producing directly any healing, but are just building for you a bunch of holy power. This is a problem. It means that if somebody is in trouble, you usually have to produce 2 or 3 GCDs worth to build yourself back up to the holy power necessary to deal with them, or you have to hold holy power, and it creates a lot of tension for our Holy Paladin builds on those 2 fronts. What this offers you is essentially the ability to move away from Word of Glory as your go-to triage heal, and you can instead replace it with Light of the Martyr. This can be done whether you are buffing your next cast with Maraud's, or you just have the 5 stacks of Untempered Dedication and are casting that. Both of those work well. The advantage of Maraud's is it just means that those triage heals that you toss out are also actually going to triage the tanks as well, because it will unlock the restriction that usually exists for Light of the Martyr, where you cannot impact your beacon targets. So I found it really great, and we're going to walk through a bit of a replay here today just to talk about how to make use of this, what kinds of choices I'm making, and how the spot healing actually functions. Let's take a look at the logs. Just a note about logs, guys. Healing logs don't really matter as far as parsers are concerned. There's all kinds of variables going into it, and your core is healing as a team. So as long as you're killing the boss and things are fairly reasonable, I wouldn't worry about comparing yourself too much. The purpose of this is not to show you a shiny number, but to talk about the build itself and where the healing is actually coming from. So you'll note here, again, we are casting far more Light of Dawns than Word of Glories in general. And even though this is our spot healing build, what's lovely about this is we can translate a lot of this AoE healing into our spot healing moments because of the way Maraud's works. We have about 33 casts of Light of the Martyr. I'd say 20 out of 33 of these are life-saving moments where I'm casting either just the Untempered Dedication version on somebody to save them in a moment of crisis, or we have the full-blown Maraud's going out with Light of the Martyr. Probably about half of these are Maraud cast Light of the Martyr, so they're really boosted, some of them upwards of 16 to 20k, as I said before. On average, you can see the cast going out for 7.5k is much higher than our Holy Shock, which is great, even though we're casting our normal amount of Holy Shocks, or at least we should be casting our Holy Shock on CD. Martyr is really doing a ton of work. The self-damage side of it I just have found in a raid is almost insignificant, despite the fact that we're boosting Light of the Martyr with both Marauders and Untempered Dedication. I have never felt in danger. I've never felt concerned that I'm going to cast Light of the Martyr and kill myself and put our people in danger. There's so much passive healing going on. You get the leech off of Light of the Martyr as well. It's just not really a thing. Arcing Light, guys, really good as well, so we're making use of that talent. And really, just to talk about talents very briefly, there's a lot of options here if you're doing Marauders. You can actually still do your Glimmer of Light build if you'd like. You're just removing one of the beacons, so you can put this on the most endangered tank and then still make use of Glimmer of Light alongside this as more kind of AoE throughput. You could take Bestow Faith or Light's Hammer. Doesn't really matter. You can still take Crusader's Might. It just jams up your rotation or takes you away from the ability to spot heal because you have those rotational commitments if you'd like to do that, but it's still open to you. Even the Glimmer of Light build has these awkward moments where you want to be casting Crusader Strike, but you don't want to waste the CDR, so you have that 1 or 2 seconds of GCDs in between these casts, depending on your haste. Light of the Martyr actually fits in there very well, so if you'd like to do that, it's fine. Divine Purpose and Awakening are just strong with this build because of the ability to pump out Light of Dawns and actually your ability to hold on to the Marauders buff. So you'll see sometimes I have the Marauders buff, I can rebuild my Holy Power from 0 up to 5, then use the Marauders buff and cast Light of Dawn, and sometimes Divine Purpose really helps with this. You can just cast back-to-back Dawn, Martyr, this sort of thing. This also would work really well, as you can see here I'm using Venthyr, but it could work really well with both Kyrian and Necrolord. Specifically Necrolord I think is going to be very strong because it can convert in a 6-minute fight 12 of your Light of Dawn casts into both a Word of Glory and Light of Dawn cast, so that enhances your ability to do triage healing. It takes what is about 2%, I think 4 casts here, and it moves it up somewhere to around 8% with our Arcing Light, just giving you that much more throughput from Word of Glory, allowing your Divine Purpose to go off more often, and also allowing your Awakening to potentially proc more often, in addition to being just nice throughput. So Necrolord's definitely a good option. I also think Kyrian, guys, Divine Toll is also just super strong. So if you're already Kyrian, what this means is every 1 minute you can count on giving yourself 5 Holy Power in addition to tossing out those Holy Shocks. As I said, if you still want to play the Glimmer style but lean toward Martyr, that's also excellent because it gets more of your Glimmers out. Just really good all around. We've been taking Ashen Hallow particularly for raid cooldown stuff for later on, but I just wanted to show you this heroic Zy'mox so you get a sense of how the build works in somewhat difficult content when you actually have things to heal. Alright, enough chatter. Let's move over to the actual log here. I love the replay, by the way. The functionality of Warcraft logs is so good because it removes the clutter. I think I've said this before, but what you can do is track exactly what's going on. You just go over here and click on your character or whoever you'd like to track. Go back to the basic healing done. You can even focus especially on what kind of healing is happening. So we can stick on my hero now to see as well all the breakdown as the fight progresses. But just so you get a sense of what I'm casting, just take a look here in the bottom of the screen, and you'll see on the left here the exact casts going out. Consecration, my Martyr coming out, Light of Dawn into Martyr. That's the main thing I want to be tracking as I'm evaluating my healing. Am I getting efficient uses of Marauders? You can see the buff here. I'm holding on to it until an appropriate moment, and then I'm going to cast it when someone's in danger to use up that buff. Now Zy'mox is an interesting fight in general because it has regular amounts of burst damage going out, but it also has the potential for a lot of single target damage or dot damage specifically going out to characters, especially people who are going to be taking seeds out and will need healing up, those who might get taken very low by their relative position to a tank who is taking out the bombs. Also anybody who gets stuck in a trap that you'll see start going. But this is the general playstyle that you guys can expect. Again, we're leveraging our Ashen Hallow in the early portion, so we have quite a lot of throughput going out. But also, guys, just it allows you to cast so many more Light of Dawns, knowing that you have Martyrs ready to go to pick up anybody who's in danger. So I've positioned myself in this group as being the person responsible for anyone who dips very low. So you can track on the right side and sometimes see, if you wanted to, you can slow it down and see where I've martyred to take care of a person who drops below like 30% or something like that. In any case, I just love that this build frees you up from being really cloistered or very focused as a rotation. Oftentimes, I think Holy Paladin on both sides, as I've mentioned, the Holy Light build, the Glimmer build, is going to be forced to do a lot of specific rotational work, and this is very freeing, guys. You can hold your Holy Power, store it up, you can cast off Light of Dawns. You don't need to be too hemmed in by casting your abilities back to back. Here's Skunk Juice. You just saw me use a Light of the Martyr to save his life. He's got the dot on him, the Withered Touch, so we want to make sure he's kept up. You can just back to back your Light of the Martyrs. The Untempered Dedication from the buff is going to be really strong. Here's River is going to be dipping low, so you should see me cast another Light of the Martyr to take care of her. All kinds of options here, guys. The gameplay itself, what I'm looking at on my meters, is really nice. It's really relaxed. I just am checking to make sure no one dips into the red, and otherwise I'm just firing off Crusader Strikes, building to 5 Holy Power, and making sure the tanks are healthy. The Maraud's Beacon healing is quite strong when you get those 20k heals off, converting all of it, 35% of it, to both tanks. Here comes the tank back. We're just going to toss her a Martyr. You can see that went off there onto our DK tank. Here's Vald. He's going to get a Martyr too, and also our Warrior. Just watching how this plays out is so useful for me as I review it, just to see who's getting hurt and am I responding in an appropriate way. That's mostly what I'm looking for in this kind of a build. And it seems to be quite nice. We have a fairly good core. I think this kill was a little bit messy for some of our other healers in general, so I'm not too worried about it, but generally speaking, they have really high throughput. My Druid especially just pumps a ton of throughput with the rejuvenation talent, and you'll see in later videos our Shaman's Riptide stuff is also just amazing throughput. We want to piggyback on top of that by being a good spot healer and helping the raid out. One of the things I haven't talked about too much yet is some of the defensive qualities that make Martyr actually quite powerful, even though it's going to be hitting you for a lot of damage. And that includes not only our personal DR, but actually Devotion Aura is going to reduce the natural damage coming out, both the 3% that you naturally get at all times, and also when you have Aura running. But also you can use and make use of your own Divine Shield. You can Divine Shield and then Martyr a bunch of people back to back to back, and it'll do no damage to you, completely negating it, and often saving everybody's life. So I find that super useful. In this fight in particular, I was going to be one of the people that soaked the traps, especially in the latter portions in Phase 3. So to make sure, you can see us doing the escalator here back and forth, I was going to be a person that made sure that this portion was clear. So I needed to save my Divine Shield for that. That's why you don't see it being combined with a bunch of Martyr spam. But there's a number of other fights where this could be very good. I'm thinking especially of Dark Vein, where there's just a ton of AoE healing required, but a lot of it's in melee. I'm thinking of Denathrius, where the same is true for Phase 1 especially, and also in Phase 3, when people are stacked up again. These Light of Dawn into Martyr saving moments are going to be excellent. It's also just a nice ability to be able to toss out on your ranged if you're doing your normal Glimmer build with your Light of Dawn cast. Traditionally, Holy Paladin have been taking care of all of your melee, but it's so nice to just toss a Martyr at ranged characters and prop them up, knowing that your Light of Dawn casts going into melee are not going to be wasted because you're casting a Word of Glory instead, that kind of thing. So I really like the ability to move away from relying on our specifically our Holy Power as our triage go-to. Holy Shock doesn't do a lot of healing overall. It's good in combination with lots of things like Shock Barrier and Glimmer, but as a triage ability, it's actually not as strong as some of the others. But this really buffed up Light of the Martyr, guys, is so powerful, and it just grabs people and takes them from nearly 0 up to full so often. Here again is kind of the breakdown of what was happening in real time. Light of the Dawn leading the way, obviously, just getting so many more casts out, not needing to use Word of Glories. And Light of the Martyr here, not too bad. I was less liberal in this pull than in others. Sometimes Light of the Martyr healing is up. But guys, the self-damage has been no problem at all. I found it really, really easy to manage. And you can see here, just as we move back to the logs and think about overall, really, really quite powerful. On the damage side, really, really strong still. I think overall, if I just go take a look, we had something like a 93, so we're sort of, for eye level, we're parsing fairly well in our damage, which means that you can use this with Venthyr, and it's absolutely no problem. If you think you needed more raw throughput and you're playing Kyrian, that's absolutely fine too. But guys, if you're looking for a spot healer, Holy Paladin style to fit into your group, honestly, the Light of the Martyr build is so, so good. It's really relaxing. It pulls you away from intense rotational play, and you will love the style of just saving people's life. Any GCD is open anytime. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Let me know in your comments if you'd like more of this kind of content, more of the kind of analysis content, and we will catch you guys again next time.